Today we're going to go back in time a bit to 2017, and in 2017 a lot of crazy shit happened. The first zebra shark in captivity achieved asexual reproduction. We had a solar eclipse, the first one in decades, and I was going into community college, fresh out of high school. All great shit. But we're taking a look back at a very special gem from that time period. The fifth studio album from American rock band Paramore, After Laughter. Looking back at what was going on during the album cycle with the band and how it affected their sound, and also pondering what is to come for the future. In 2017, Paramore fans were fed when Hayley Williams took to Twitter to announce that their fifth studio album was in the works, 3 years after their self-titled Paramore was released. And Paramore made them a household name with hits like Ain't It Fun and Still Into You, the first of which was nominated for and won a Grammy that year for Best Rock Song. Not everything was sunshine and roses, though, unfortunately. The band were dealt a number of curveballs throughout the announcement and the end of recording. The first of which is that it was just Hayley and Taylor to start out with. To keep it short and sweet, Joy B. Davis was out due to financial issues, and we can tell that this dramatically impacted both Hayley and Taylor, taking a look at what they said at the time at his departure. And if you're a fan of Paramore, you know that they're no stranger to lineup changes. Just take a look at what happened pretty much through every album release. They're either losing a member, gaining a member. It's kind of hard to keep up with, and I won't, try to explain it here in this video. However, previous drummer from the first two albums, Zach Farrell, would decide that he wants to be friends with Paramore again and hold it down on the drums. And hold it down he does. At the same time, with all the change happening around her, Hayley's marriage was falling apart to now ex-husband Chad Gilbert. I don't know how she ended up with a dude named Chad Gilbert, but I digress. Their divorce follows a marriage just a year prior in February 2016. They were together, though, for 8 years before that. People say that the first year of marriage is the hardest to get through, but shit, Hayley was with the dude since she was 18, her whole adult life pretty much. This divorce tore her up emotionally, and we can tell that taking a look at the lyrical content of the album. In 2018, Hayley Williams would publish an essay in Paper Mag, going in depth in her own words about how she felt through the recording of After Laughter, and also how she felt about the aftermath of her divorce. Here's how she describes it in her own words.
That essay that I wrote in 2018 was one of the first times I really spoke out about depression and having wanted to die. I would come home from recording After Laughter, and I wouldn't even feel any joy, and it was so strange. I couldn't understand why the things that I always leaned on felt so empty.
Fortunately, Hayley would come to accept that it's okay to not be okay.
Being that I was in denial for a while about my depression, I had a really I tiptoed into this conversation, and people would ask me, the first time I ever thought about depression at all, the first time I considered it is there was an album review that came out about After Laughter, and they were like, this is the happiest record about depression I've ever heard, and I was like, what do they mean it's about depression? Like, I'm just talking shit about my life, I'm talking shit about myself. And then a year and a half later, I'm diagnosed by someone that a doctor I really trusted, and sure enough, accepting that has helped me.
And kudos to her, because that takes a lot of strength. All of this emotional trauma reflected heavily on the lyrics throughout, with themes of heartbreak, depression and anxiety, the good 1-2 punch, and exhaustion. You wouldn't know it, though, with the band's sick 80s vibe and neon colors, really throwing it back visually and sonically. The songs had a notable 80s synth vibe to them, but also felt fresh and modern, like something brand new. And it was refreshing. It was a big step away from their previous album that was still embedded in their pop-punk roots, but it was a very refreshing and needed change. The band has been around now for over a decade, and it felt like if there was ever a time to do something different, it was this album. I listened to Riot growing up because my sister was a pretty big fan of Paramore at the time when it was getting released. And when I got to high school, I found myself listening to some tracks I like Ignorance or Careful. I wasn't following the band too closely at the time that it was released, or that After Laughter was released. So I was really taken aback by the bright poppy guitars. It was not something that I had expected off of, emo Paramore. Just listen to Hard Times. It's such a banger. I remember hearing this on the radio for the first time and being shocked that this was Paramore. The whole album, it was just so different. A few months after it released, I got around to listening to the album after a recommendation from my brother, no less, and my ears were blessed. It was so different to what I was listening to at the time, but at the same time so familiar. Like, whose mom doesn't throw on the 80s every once in a while? I personally can hear the Fleetwood Mac Talking Heads type influences throughout the album. The songs focus on heavy but relatable themes. One of my favorites in particular is Caught in the Middle. It talks about a fear of getting older and fighting with depression. And also being tired of putting up with the fake facade in songs like Rose Colored Boy and Fake Happy. Not only is Haley tired of being fake happy, she's exhausted. She's exhausted with what she perceives to be her role as a role model or a star to a younger generation. And the best example of this is idol worship. Just take a look at the lyrics. The light tones seem to blend and work well with dark, somber lyrics. If anything, for me, they amplify it. Why is it that songs that sound happy but are sad are fucking bangers? Taylor York really killed it on the production in this album. He had more of a role than in previous albums, but he really brought to life his vision, and I appreciate him for that. Plus, that's really difficult to do. I don't know if you've ever tried to make music, but it's fucking hard. It was received well among the general public and also received critical acclaim upon release. The Metacritic score is 82, and some reviews even mention Taylor directly about his hand in the production process. But wait, we all need to know. What did the Anthony Fantano rate the album? That's the real sauce.
The sauce is forever.
It's just a different, dancier, poppier, sleeker, more synthetic sound. I'm feeling a decent to strong 7.
Great, so now we're allowed to listen to the album. Thank you, Mr. Fantano. Your work is greatly appreciated. So how do I feel about the album? I like it. I have a number of songs off the album on my playlist, and I've become more of a Paramore fan, actually, as I've aged, ironically. So it's grown on me a bit more, so my personal rating is 8, but I want to know what your personal rating down is in the comments below, so let me know. Is it better than Brand New Eyes? That's personal debate. So what's coming down the pipeline for Paramore in 2022? Well, we know that they're set to release an album this year at some point, thank God. I'm excited about that. It's rumored to have a more heavier sound reminiscent of some of their older works, but Haley has flat out said that this is not a comeback emo record, but there is more emphasis back on the guitar, and Zach can go as animal as he wants on the drums. That's a-okay for me. Let Zach go crazy, because he's phenomenal. So here's hoping Paramore keeps the good times rolling with another banger, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.